Listen closely, my dear. Because what I'm about to tell you still makes my hands shake even today. You see, the night my son locked himself in his room, the whole house felt wrong, as if it was breathing. The lights flickered without reason, the old wooden floor creaked under steps that weren't mine, and somewhere deep inside these walls, something whispered my name. And I swear, I heard my grandson crying, even though he wasn't home that night. That was the moment I knew something terrible was about to happen. I remember standing outside my son's door, the rain tapping urgently against the window like it was warning me. Run, now. But I didn't run. Not yet. Because I didn't know the truth. Not until I heard the same voice that once soothed me when I was a child. My own mother's voice, whisper from the darkness behind me. Go to him before it's too late. My legs froze. My breath broke. My mother died 40 years ago. I'm sorry. I need a moment. Let me start properly. My name, well, you can call me Grandma Elsie. And what I'm telling you tonight isn't a story. It's a confession. A memory I buried for decades, hoping it would never claw its way back. But memories have a strange way of finding you, sometimes through locked doors. It started 3 nights before everything fell apart. My son Daniel. He had always been a gentle boy, a quiet soul. But lately something had changed in him. He spoke less, slept less, ate little. And whenever I looked into his eyes, I felt like he was staring not at me, but through me, as if watching something behind my shoulder. One morning I found him in the hallway, pale and trembling, pressing his ear against the wall. Do you hear it, Mom? He whispered. Hear what, Beta? He swallowed hard. The footsteps. They follow me everywhere. I didn't hear anything, but the fear in his voice made my skin crawl. He looked like someone who hadn't slept in days. When I touched his arm, he flinched as if burned. 3 days later, he locked himself inside his room. No sound. No reply. Nothing but silence thick enough to choke on. First I thought he needed space. He was grown. Maybe he wanted a break from the world. But that silence, it wasn't human silence. Felt alive. Heavy. Like something on the other side of the door was waiting, listening. I knocked gently. Daniel? Open the door, Beta. Nothing. I tried again, this time louder. Daniel, please. Still nothing. But when I leaned close, placing my ear against the cold wood, I heard it. A faint sound. A soft exhale. A whisper that didn't sound like my son at all, or like any living person. Said my name. My knees weakened. My heart hammered painfully. And before I could step back, the floor behind me creaked, one slow, heavy footstep. I turned around, breath held. No one. But the air was thick, cold, and tight like someone had just passed by. I gripped my shawl tighter and whispered a small prayer. My voice shook. My hands trembled. And somewhere in that suffocating silence, I felt watched. Not by one pair of eyes. By many. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the whisper in my mind. I walked through the house, touching old photo frames, remembering easier times, laughing evenings, warm tea, stories by candlelight. And every time I paused, I heard faint tapping noises. Walls. Windows. Floors. Like someone trying to get out. Or trying to get in. Around midnight, I found a folded note slipped under my bedroom door. It was written in my son's handwriting. Don't trust the shadows. Mom, please stay away from my room. My breath caught in my throat. 'Cause the ink, it wasn't dry. Someone had written this moments ago. Which meant, my son was awake behind that door. Alive. Afraid. Trying to protect me. I rushed to his door again, pounding with both hands. Daniel. Say something. Tell me what's happening. Silence. Utter, suffocating silence. Then a thud. A heavy one. Like something or someone had collapsed inside. I screamed his name. And that's when it happened. A voice, thin, shaking, terrified, came from the other side. Mom, don't open it. Please. If you open the door, it'll come for you too. Every hair on my body stood upright. What will come for me? Daniel, answer me. But the voice didn't reply. Instead, I heard soft scraping sounds along the floor, like fingernails dragging slowly across wood. I backed away, tears stinging my eyes. Before I continue, I want to ask you something, because I honestly don't know if I did the right thing that night. If your own child was locked inside a room, begging you not to open the door. Would you still try to break it open? Tell me in the comments. I need to know what others would have done. And if you're feeling the tension of this story already, please like, share, and subscribe so more people can hear what happened next. Because what I discovered changed everything. When the whispering stopped, I gathered every ounce of courage left in my fragile old bones. I stepped forward, placed my trembling palm on the door, and whispered, "Beta, I'm here. I won't leave you alone." But the moment my skin touched the wood, I felt something breathe from the other side. A cold exhale. A warning. A presence. I snatched my hand back, heart pounding like a drum. Shadows rippled under the door. Not human shadows, these moved like smoke, like something alive was shifting and stretching on the floor. And then, the doorknob turned. Slowly, deliberately, like something was deciding whether to come out. I stumbled back, clutching my chest. My voice cracked as I whispered, "Daniel?" The doorknob paused. And then, in a voice that wasn't his, a voice deep, hollow, drenched in something ancient, it said, "He isn't here anymore." My dear. When that voice said, "He isn't here anymore," something inside me broke, like a thin string snapping after years of holding too much weight. I staggered back, clutching the edge of the hallway table to steady myself. The rain outside slammed harder against the windows, as if nature itself was trying to warn me, or drown out whatever had spoken from behind that door. I stood there, frozen, staring at the doorknob as it slowly stilled, returning to its silent, lifeless position. My breath came in sharp gasps. I could feel my heartbeat in my throat. And for a moment, for just a moment, I wasn't in my house anymore. I felt as if I'd slipped back into a memory, one I never dared to speak about, because it wasn't the first time I'd heard a voice like that. But I'll come to that later. Right now, I was still standing outside my son's door, trembling so hard I had to press my hand against the wall to keep myself from collapsing. The wallpaper felt colder than usual, damp, almost like the walls had been sweating. I whispered, "Daniel Beta, it's me. Please answer." No response. Just a faint rhythmic tapping from inside. Tap, tap, tap. As if someone inside was gently knocking back. Not to communicate, but to remind me it was still there. I felt nausea twist my stomach. I forced myself to move. Step by shaking step, I walked backward down the hallway, my eyes never leaving the door. I felt that if I blinked even once, the door might open by itself. When I finally reached my living room, I collapsed onto the old armchair, Daniel's father's armchair, the one he used to sit in every evening before that accident took him away. The room was dim except for the flickering lamp in the corner. Its light stretched long shadows across the floor, shadows that trembled every time the bulb buzzed. I pulled my shawl tighter around me, feeling the chill crawling up my spine. I needed help. Someone to call. Someone to tell me what to do. But who? The police? They would only break the door and scare Daniel further, if he was still in there. A doctor? They might try to sedate him, not understanding the real terror. No, there was only one person who might know what to do. My mother. The same mother whose voice I had heard whisper my name earlier that night. I know how that sounds. Believe me, I do. And yet, in that moment of desperation, I felt she was the only one left who could guide me. I reached for the old wooden box I kept under the coffee table. The box no one in the family knew about. The one filled with my mother's old letters, her diary, her warnings I refused to believe for decades. Warnings about the dark corners of a house, the spirits that cling to the grieving, the echoes that mimic voices you love, and the shadows that gather behind closed doors. My fingers trembled as I unlocked the box. Inside, her belongings still carried a faint scent of rosewater. I opened her diary. The first page. My eyes widened. It contained a passage I had seen dozens of times before. But tonight, the words felt like they were written for me. The moment a voice inside the home speaks in a tone not belonging to the living, the door protecting the soul must not be opened. My throat tightened. My blood ran cold. Because that voice behind Daniel's door, the one that said, "He isn't here anymore," was not a voice belonging to any living thing. I slammed the diary shut, my heartbeat echoing in my ears. I stood up, pacing the room like a trapped animal. I needed answers. And I needed them fast. Suddenly, A sound came from the hallway. Not tapping. Not whispering. But footsteps. Slow. Dragging. Uneven. Coming toward the living room. I stopped breathing. The footsteps grew clearer. Then paused right outside the living room door. My legs felt like water. I backed up until I hit the bookshelf. And then, a soft knock. Just once. Not on wood. On glass. The knock had come from the window behind me. I turned sharply. Rain streaked the glass, distorting the view outside. Darkness pressed against the window pane like a heavy curtain. And just as I stepped closer, a handprint appeared. Pressed from the outside. Pale hand. Long fingers. Dragging slowly down the glass. I stumbled back, clutching my chest. A cold gasp escaped my lips. No. Because I recognized that hand. I'd seen it once before. 40 years ago. Pressed against my childhood bedroom window. The night my mother died. A trembling breath left my lungs. I whispered into the empty room. Mom, if this is you, why now? Why Daniel? The room didn't answer. Only the rain did. But then, a sound from the hallway again. The door to Daniel's room rattled violently. Once. Twice. Then silence. I crept toward the hallway, every bone in my body shaking, every instinct telling me to run the other way. But that's what motherhood is, isn't it? You walk toward the danger, because your child is there. When I reached the hallway, my heart nearly stopped. Daniel's door. It was slightly open. Just an inch. Just enough for darkness to leak out like smoke. I know I hadn't opened it. I know nothing living had touched it. I whispered, my voice barely holding. Daniel Beta. I'm coming inside. But something shifted in the darkness behind the door. Something tall. Something slow. Something that made the shadows ripple like black water. I froze. Then, a voice, my son's real voice this time, cracked through the darkness. Mom, don't look at it. I gasped. Daniel, where are you? I'm here, he whispered weakly. In the corner. But, Mom, don't look behind the door. My pulse pounded so loud I could barely hear. What is it? I whispered. He answered through tears. It keeps changing into people we know. My breath halted. People we know. And then, slowly, from behind the door, a familiar shape leaned into the crack. A face. Not quite real. Not quite human. It looked like Daniel's father. But the smile was wrong. So very wrong. My voice trembled as I whispered, Dear God, what has come into my home? My dear. Even now as I relive it, my throat dries and my palms turn cold. Because what leaned through that doorway, what pretended to be my late husband, wasn't human. Not even close. The face had his shape, yes. The same jawline, the same gentle brow, but the eyes. Oh God, the eyes. They were hollow. Shadow-filled. Like someone had carved out the pupils and replaced them with moving darkness. And the smile stretched a little too far. Like a mask being pulled by invisible threads. I clutched my shawl, my fingers digging into the fabric as if it could protect me. It couldn't. Nothing could. The thing watched me with a stillness that felt ancient, patient, hungry. Behind it, I could hear Daniel's shaky breathing, hidden somewhere in the corner of the room. My child, my sweet, gentle boy, trapped with that imitation. My voice cracked as I whispered, Daniel's father? Is that you? The thing tilted its head slowly, as if testing the weight of the name. The shadow in its eyes pulsed, swirling like smoke in a jar. Then it spoke, in my husband's exact voice. Elsie, you've aged. My heart stopped, because that phrase, my husband used to tease me with it when he'd return from long business trips. He'd enter the house, smile, pull me into his arms and say, Elsie, you've aged, are you eating enough? But when the creature said it, there was no warmth, no love, just a mocking echo, twisted and empty. My knees softened. I had to grip the wall to keep upright. But then I heard it. Daniel's real voice, trembling, terrified. Mom, don't talk to it. Please. It listens. It learns. The creature blinked slowly. Once. Twice. And with each blink its face shifted. Bone structure melting and reforming. Like wax under a flame. My breath stuttered in my chest. I whispered, horrified. What are you? The creature smiled wider, skin stretching unnaturally. Then it stepped back, Just an inch, enough for its arm to become visible. And it wasn't human. The skin was gray and uneven, crawling with movement under the surface. Veins, or something pretending to be veins, pulsed like trapped worms. My stomach lurched. I pressed a hand to my mouth to stop a cry from escaping. And then, from the dark behind the creature, Daniel's whisper again. Mom, don't let it see your fear. How could I not? My entire body was shaking. The creature slowly leaned forward, face pushing closer to the crack as if smelling me. Then it whispered, "Let me in, Elsie." A tear rolled down my cheek. "No," I breathed. "Why? Why us?" The creature paused, and for a horrifying second, everything in the hallway went silent. The rain, the wind, even the flickering bulb seemed to hold its breath. Then it said something that broke me entirely. "Because your family always opens the door, even when they shouldn't." A chill sliced down my spine. Those words, I had heard them once before. 40 years ago, on the night my mother died. I stumbled backward, shaking my head violently. No, don't say that. You don't know her." But the creature tilted its head again. "Oh, I know her. She opened a door too. And she saw me." I felt my heart collapse inside my chest. My lungs tightened until I could hardly breathe. I whispered broken, You came for her?" The creature smiled. And in that moment its face shifted. Wrinkles deepening, jaw narrowing, lips thinning. Until I saw a vague shadowy version of my mother's face. My throat tightened painfully. It whispered. She invited me in with a whisper. "Just like your son did." My knees buckled. I collapsed against the wall, sliding to the floor. Daniel's voice cracked from inside the room. Mom, don't listen. Don't look at it." The creature shifted, its face melting back into the false image of my husband. Then it pressed one pale, long-fingered hand against the doorframe. The wood creaked under its touch, as if the house itself feared it. I swallowed hard, pushing myself up, gripping the wall with trembling hands. I had to get Daniel out. I had to. But before I could move, the creature leaned closer and whispered something chilling. "Your son tried to lock me out. But I'm already inside him." My vision blurred. My ears rang. A wave of cold washed over me. "No," I whispered. No, take me. Not him. Please take me instead." The creature's expression shifted. A mockery of pity. A cruel imitation of tenderness. "Poor Elsie. I've already had you once. I don't want you again." My entire body turned to ice. And then, with a soft, deliberate motion, the creature stepped back into the darkness of the room and gently closed the door between us. Click. The sound echoed like a gunshot. I lunged forward, grabbing the doorknob, twisting, pulling. Locked. Completely locked. "Daniel!" I cried. "Daniel, answer me." A soft sob came from behind the door. Then his voice, weak, shaking, whispered, "Mom, I'm still here. But it's not letting me move." My heart collapsed. "Hold on, Beta. Hold on. I'm getting you out." Before I could try again, something strange happened. The shadows under the door began to move. They gathered, swirled, thickened, and then, slowly, they rose up the door like black vines. My breath hitched, and from inside the room, a voice spoke again. Not Daniel, not the creature. Something older, deeper, far more terrifying. In a whisper like cracking bones it said, "One door opened, one soul claimed, one more to go." My blood ran cold. I staggered back, clutching the wall, my fingers numb. "Who are you?" I whispered. The voice replied, "I am what answers when grief calls." My dear. When that voice said, "I am what answers when grief calls," the hallway around me seemed to shrink. The walls leaned inward, as if the whole house was listening, breathing, waiting. My fingers dug into the peeling wallpaper because I felt I might faint if I didn't hold on to something solid. Grief. It had called something? Something that answered. My heart pounded like a frantic drum inside my chest. I tried to swallow, but my throat felt tight, dry, as if fear itself had turned to dust inside me. I whispered shakily, "Daniel, do you hear that voice?" No reply. Only the sound of something shuffling inside the dark room. A dragging weight. A slow exhale. And then 2 knocks on the floorboards. Sharp. Deliberate. Knock. Knock. I backed away instinctively. My mother used to tell me, spirits that knock in pairs are not seeking communication. They are marking territory. I pressed a trembling hand against my chest. Please, just let my son go. The voice, ancient, hollow, replied. He clung to sorrow. Sorrow opens doors. Doors let me through. My breath faltered. I shook my head violently, tears welling in my eyes. No, Daniel isn't sorrowful. He's just struggling, he's just. But even as I said it, memories stabbed into me like shards of broken glass. Daniel at the hospital, holding his father's cold hand. Daniel staring at the empty chair at dinner. Daniel whispering at night when he thought I was asleep. I miss him. I wish he would answer. He had called out in grief. Just like I once did. Just like my mother did before her. And something had answered him. My hands trembled uncontrollably. The shadows on the door quivered, pulsing with a life of their own. I could hear faint scratching now, like nails trailing slowly down the inside of the door. I forced myself to move. I rushed to the small hallway table, grabbed the old brass key that opened most of the bedroom doors in the house, and fumbled with it desperately at the lock. My hands shook too much. The key clattered against the wood. Inside the room, Daniel's voice finally came, barely more than a breath. Mom, you shouldn't open it. Not yet. It's watching the door. I froze. Watching the door? I whispered through the crack. Where are you, Beta? His voice trembled. Far corner. Away from it. Away from the shadows. I closed my eyes tightly. God help us. Daniel. Can it hear us? A long pause. Then in a trembling voice. Yes. My lungs squeezed painfully. Fear clawed up my spine like icy fingers. I forced myself not to look at the bottom of the door where the shadows gathered and pulsed. Instead, I whispered softly, Then don't speak anymore. Just breathe. Let me think. But thinking felt impossible. Every memory, every whisper my mother once told me, every nightmare I had locked away, all clawed their way into my mind. Especially the last night of my mother's life, when she told me, Elsie, if grief ever answers back, close the door and run. I never understood what she meant. Until now. I wiped my tears and steadied my hand. I'm getting you out, Beta. I promise. I inserted the brass key into the lock. The moment the metal touched the inside mechanism, the temperature in the hallway plummeted. My breath turned to white fog. My fingertips went numb. The bulb above me flickered violently. And from inside the room, a chorus of whispers rose. Not one voice. Dozens. Hundreds. Layered. Intertwined. Weaving around each other like snakes. Some whispers sounded like Daniel. Some like my husband. Some like my mother. Some sounded like strangers. And one sounded like a child crying. A whimper escaped my lips. Dear God. The whispers grew louder, faster, like a storm gathering behind the door. My heart thrashed wildly as I twisted the key. But before it turned, the voice, the deep ancient one, roared. Do not open what I claim. I stumbled back, nearly dropping the key. My ears rang from the force of the voice. The very walls trembled, dust falling in soft showers from the ceiling. Then silence. A silence so complete it felt like I'd gone deaf. I took one shaky step forward. My hand reached for the door again, but something moved beneath the crack. Something long and jointed. Something that dragged itself across the floor with a sickening wet sound. My breath hitched. A shape pressed against the bottom of the door. Stretching, squeezing, as if trying to slide through. No. The shape slid back. Then a small voice came through. A little boy's voice. Grandma, help me. My heart twisted painfully. No, that's not real. That's not real. That's not real. The little voice whimpered. It's dark in here. I can't see, please. Tears blurred my vision. Because that voice, it sounded like my grandson. The one who wasn't even home that night. The one who died before he ever learned to walk. I dropped the key. It clattered loudly on the floor. No, don't do this. Don't use his voice. Don't. Inside the room, Daniel cried out suddenly. Mom, don't listen. It's lying. Please. His voice was cut off. Something slammed against the wall inside, hard enough to make the door shudder. Daniel. I screamed. No reply. Just a slow scraping sound. like something heavy being dragged across the floor. My body moved on its own. I grabbed the key again, hands trembling, heart pounding. No more games. No more shadows. I'm coming in. But the entire door suddenly bulged outward, as if something was pushing against it. Something enormous, shapeless, stretching the wood like warm wax. I backed away, horrified. A deep rumbling breath came from the other side. Warm, wet, inhuman. My skin crawled. And then, in a voice that sounded like multiple throats speaking at once, it whispered, "If you open this door, Elsie, you will see what grief truly looks like." I swallowed hard, shaking my head, whispering to myself, "He's my son, my child, my baby boy. I will not abandon him." The shadows stilled, and the voice replied, almost amused, "Then come in, and be claimed with him, my child." I still remember how quiet the house felt that night. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that tells you something is wrong long before anyone speaks. I stood in the kitchen, holding the empty tray, the same tray my daughter-in-law had thrown aside earlier. I ran my fingers over the edge and it felt cold. Maybe it was just metal. Maybe it was my heart. As I stood there, I heard footsteps, slow, hesitant, dragging against the wooden floor. It was her. She walked in, eyes red, lips trembling. For the first time since she entered my home, she wasn't angry, she was scared. "Mom," she whispered. My hands froze. She had never called me that before. Not once. She stood in the doorway, hugging her arms around her chest like she was trying to hold herself together. I need to tell you something," she said. My heart thumped as if it knew the truth before her words even came. I nodded slowly. "Beatty, come sit." But she didn't move. She kept glancing behind her like someone was watching, like someone might hear. And then she said it. "He's not who you think he is." My breath stopped. She swallowed hard. "Your son. He's not the good man you believe. And I couldn't tell you before. He warned me. He said if I ever spoke, I would regret it." My knees weakened. I grabbed the chair beside me to stay standing. "My son," I whispered. "My own boy." She nodded, tears falling fast. "He's been lying to both of us. About money. About work. About everything. He's not the victim. He's the one hurting us." I felt like the walls were closing in. My child, my sweet boy I raised with my own hands. Was she telling me he was the monster in this story? "Why didn't you come to me earlier?" I asked, my voice shaking. She stepped closer but didn't dare touch me. "Because he said you would never believe me, and I stopped believing it myself." My heart split into two that moment, half for my son, half for the woman crying in front of me. And then out of nowhere, we heard the front door slam. She jumped. I turned toward the hallway. His footsteps were heavy, angry, too familiar. My daughter-in-law's face drained of color. "He's home," she whispered. And from the hallway, his voice thundered. "Mom, where are you? We need to talk. Now." The story, my child, was only just beginning to unravel. "My dear, I wish I could tell you I was calm. I wish I could tell you I felt safe. But the moment I heard my son's voice echoing through the hallway, I realized something terrifying. This night would not end quietly. I gripped the railing of the staircase, my knuckles white. The shadows in the hallway seemed to move faster now, rippling along the walls, twisting with each step he took. My heart thudded painfully in my chest as I called out, trembling, "Daniel, Beta, where are you?" A soft sob answered me, not from him, but from somewhere deep in the corner of the living room. I froze. My eyes darted around. Candlelight flickered, casting long shadows that danced across the cracked floor. Every picture on the wall seemed to frown at me. Every chair leaned as if it were alive. And then I saw him. My son Daniel, crouched low near the old bookshelf. His eyes were wide with terror, pupils dilated, lips trembling. But it wasn't just fear I saw there. It was something darker. Something I had never seen in him before. "Mom, don't come closer," he whispered. I stepped forward slowly, holding out my hand. "Beta, what is happening? Tell me, please." He shook his head violently. It's not just a shadow. It's inside me. Before he could finish, the room went cold. The air thickened like walking through syrup. The shadows on the floor began to twist unnaturally, climbing the walls, converging toward him. My chest tightened. I couldn't breathe. I could hear whispers all around me, hundreds of them, layered voices, some mine, some Daniel's father's, some I couldn't recognize at all. I took another step closer, shaking. I'm here, Beta. I won't leave you. But something in the room moved faster than my eyes could follow. A figure emerged from the darkest corner. Tall, amorphous, shifting, almost human, almost familiar. Its eyes glowed faintly and its face, oh God, its face flickered like a broken reflection of my son. Mom, Daniel choked. It's copying me. The creature stepped closer. Shadows followed its every move. It extended one long gray hand toward Daniel. And in a split second, I remembered something from my mother's diary, her final warning. When grief answers, you must choose the soul you protect, or lose both. My mind raced. I realized then that I had a choice. I could pull Daniel into my arms and try to escape, or I could confront whatever had entered our home, whatever had followed grief into our lives. I steadied myself. I whispered almost to myself, not my boy, not my Daniel. The creature's shadowy hand paused midair. The whispers became louder, frenzied, like the house itself was protesting. I took a slow step forward, forcing myself to confront the thing. Leave him, I shouted. My voice cracked, trembling but loud. You have no claim here. Daniel is my son, not yours. The shadows flickered violently. For a terrifying moment, everything stopped. Silence. Then, Daniel's voice, faint, almost a whisper, called my name. Mom. I closed my eyes and ran. Through instinct, through sheer maternal desperation, I grabbed Daniel and pulled him toward the staircase. The shadows stretched toward us, trying to cling, to pull us back, but I held him tight. My legs trembled violently as we raced up the stairs, rain lashing against the windows, thunder shaking the house like it might collapse. We reached his bedroom. I slammed the door behind us, locking it quickly. The air inside the room felt safer, warmer, human. Daniel collapsed against me, sobbing uncontrollably. I thought I was gone, he whispered. Mom, it was in my head. It was pretending to be you. Dad, everyone. I held him close, rocking him, tears streaming down my face. It's gone now, Beta. It can't follow us in here. Not as long as we stay together. Not as long as I'm here. We sat there, shivering, listening. Outside the room, the whispers had stopped. The shadows no longer writhed. Silence. Absolute silence. And then, I noticed the diary lying on the floor, slipped from the coffee table downstairs. I picked it up, my trembling hands opening it to the last page my mother had ever written. Elsie. The grief will come for those who call it. But love binds the living stronger than sorrow. Protect them. Protect them with your life, and the shadows cannot claim their own. I understood then, what had haunted Daniel, what had stalked our home. It wasn't punishment. It wasn't revenge. It was a test. A proof that love, maternal love, the bond between parent and child, was stronger than any shadow. We stayed in that room all night, holding each other. And when morning came, the first rays of sunlight cut through the curtains, spilling warmth across the cracked floor. Daniel slept, exhausted. I watched him, whispering prayers of thanks for life, for love, and for survival. But just as I let myself exhale, I noticed a small detail. The shadows were gone. Yes, gone. But on the wall opposite the window, there was a faint, dripping handprint. Not human. Not quite shadow. And in the center, scratched lightly into the plaster, were two words. Not finished. My blood ran cold. And even as sunlight filled the room, I realized the story wasn't over. But for now, my son was safe. And that was enough. I held him close, rocking him, whispering, never forget, Beta, love will always outlast the darkness. And somewhere in the silence, I could almost hear my mother's soft, approving voice. Well done, Elsie, you did not falter. We survived that night. We lived. And the house breathed a little easier. But the memory of what lurked behind a closed door, of what mimicked love and preyed on fear, that stayed with me. It whispers to me still, reminding me to cherish every moment, every heartbeat, every person I hold dear. And my dear, that's why even now when the wind howls outside or shadows dance on the walls, I never ever take the safety of my loved ones for granted, because sometimes, the things that answer our grief are closer than we think. And sometimes, the shadows are still watching,